Today, we are reading Chapter 3 of The Losers Club. Whoops. Okay. Chapter 3, Autopilot. 6 weeks of summer school to learn study skills? It was a terrible thing to hear from the principal on the first day of 6th grade. But as much as Alec hated the idea, Mrs. Vance had also said that he was smart and that he already knew what changes he had to make. It seemed pretty simple, really. All he had to do was stop reading during class and pay more attention. So as Alec walked away from Mrs. Vance's office, he felt a little less worried with each step he took. Then he thought, did she really tell my teachers to keep a special lookout for me? Or is that something she says to all the kids who get in trouble? It was a fair question, and he got his answer quickly. Because when he arrived late for his second period math class, Alex discovered that Mrs. Seward had saved him a seat in the very front row, smack in the center. And when he got to Mr. Brock's third period arts class, again there was a front row seat with his name on it. Alec was impressed with the principal's power to reach out and make him sit wherever she wanted him to. However, this seating plan wasn't completely the principal's doing. Long before Mrs. Vance had spoken with him, his teachers had already decided that Alec Spencer was going to sit in front and center in each class every single day of his 6th grade life. And there was a reason for that. Behind the closed door of the teacher's workroom, Alec was famous. At least once a week for the past 4 years, one of his teachers had blurted out something like, "You know how that Alex Spencer always has his nose in a book? The kid's an amazing reader, but it drives me crazy." And 2 years earlier, Mrs. Vance had added a special notice to the parent and student handbook. And all the teachers called this paragraph the Alec Rule. Reading library books or other literature during class time is only allowed when the teacher gives permission. Every student is expected to pay careful attention and fully participate in all classroom activities. However, the Alec Rule had been a total flop. It had failed to change the behavior of the one kid it had been written for. But on this particular day of school, the front row treatment was working for Alec. Alec, especially after Miss Vance had said to him at their meeting, he did not want to spend next summer stuck in a classroom. And from second period on, he didn't even think about trying to read during class. In math, Miss Seward had given a speech about the future and about how mathematics was the foundation for so many different careers. Alex listened to every word she said. During language arts, Mr. Brock had talked about the different kinds of essays they would have to write during middle school and high school, and how every student needed to get ready for all the hard work to come. And again, Alec paid close attention. He took careful notes about how to organize a 5-paragraph essay. Sitting up front actually helped. Then in the 4th period science, Mrs. Loden started out with the slideshow speech that was a lot like the one in math class, except this talk was about how physics and chemistry and biology were going to be all the keys in the future. The room was darkened so everyone could see the screen. And about 2 minutes into her talk, Alex switched off his ears and started thinking about the high thing. And how the whole chronicles of Prydain led up to the book. And how Taran had become a true warrior. And what would it feel like to swing a real sword, and how each battle was. Alec, don't you agree? Mrs. Loden was staring into his face. Alec blinked and said, "Oh yeah, sure, I agree." She said, "Good, because I'd like you to be the one who keeps the list of key concepts we'll need to review before our state tests in March and April. I'll make some space on the bulletin board for you." There was a flutter of laughter from the class, which Mrs. Loden silenced with one look. Alex sat up straight. He felt his face get warm, and he promised himself that he wouldn't daydream again. Tracking the key concepts in science class was going to be a miserable job, but Mrs. Loden could have just yanked him out of his seat and sent him to Mrs. Vance, which should have been worse. Much worse. Textbooks seemed thicker than ever, and class by class, Alex's book bag got heavier. This was the first year he had to change classes, and dashing to a different room every 57 minutes made him feel like he was running a relay race. And of course, each academic teacher assigned homework. Alec had been looking forward to lunch. There was always some time to read in the cafeteria or out on the playground. Not today. The food lines seemed longer and slower, and he barely had time to gobble a plate of spaghetti and guzzle some milk before the bell rang. Then he had to check his schedule and rush to the far end of the building for social studies. He had heard that Mrs. Henley was super strict about tardiness. Changing classes made everything seem new today. And even though he felt stressed, the newness was also kind of exciting. But by the time he got back to his homeroom, at the end of the day, all the excitement had drained away. Alec felt frazzled and dazed, and he knew what he needed. He needed to dive in story and stay there, all alone inside Great Book. When the last bell rang at 2:53, he was off at a gallop. Operating on full autopilot, Alec heaved his book bag onto one shoulder and lurched along through the halls and out the front doors, all the way to his regular spot in the bus lines. He sat down there on the sidewalk, opened up the hiking, and began to read. But after just a few sentences, Alec felt a sharp jab on his shoulder. Startled, he looked up, half blinded by the afternoon sun. It was his little brother, Luke. "Get lost," Alex snapped and turned back to his book. Luke poked him again with the corner of his iPad. "Where are you supposed to be right now?" With the corner of his iPad. "Where are you supposed to be right now?" "Duh, waiting for the bus, and here it comes." "No, think again." Yeah, Alex stared straight ahead a moment and then said, Oh, right, I forgot." He jumped to his feet, grabbed his bag, and followed Luke back into the school. Luke was striding, so Alec had to walk fast to keep up. Now he remembered the conversation at dinner one night a couple weeks ago. Except he had been eating and reading and listening all at the same time. but mostly reading. It was a Wimpy Kid book, so he'd been laughing too. Still, oh shoot, frick. Still, he recalled his mom and dad explaining that they were each starting new jobs in September. Jobs at 2 different companies near Boston, which meant they would both have to drive to work every day. Her parents were computer programmers, and for the past 11 years, they had worked from home, so this was a big change. And since neither one of them would get home from work until almost dinner time, Alec and Luke had been enrolled into the extended day program, 3 extra hours at school every afternoon. Hurrying along with his brother, Alec felt kind of pleased with himself. Because even though the craziness of this first name had made him forget, and even though he didn't have all the details clear in his mind, he had captured most of the important ideas. And science and language arts, which was sort of the way it felt when he took math tests. And science and language arts, social studies tests. They said that was going to change, and when the letter from Mrs. Vance arrived home, there would be fireworks, the bad kind. When they got to where the 2 main corridors crossed, Luke stopped. Alex said, "How come you came looking for me at the bus stop?" "Because after dinner last night, Mom told me I had to check up on you." "Oh." Luke pointed. "You go to the gym, I'll be in the cafeteria." "What? How come?" "Because the directions in the booklets they sent us." Luke said, "Kindergarten through 3rd grade kids report to the cafeteria, and 4th, 5th, and 6th report to the gym. Did you pack a snack this morning?" Alex's face was Alex's face was blank. "Snack?" "Yes, snack. That's what humans call food they eat in between their main meals. For nerdy 3rd graders." And Luke was getting pretty good at sarcasm. Alex smiled. No snack." Luke reached into his backpack and handed Alec a granola bar and a box of apple juice. Alec made a face. "You don't have chips or Cheetos or something good?" Luke ignored him. He flipped back the cover of his iPad and looked at mine. "You're 4 minutes late. If you don't check in by 7 minutes after 3, they call the school office and the parents. And if you're more than 15 minutes late, they alert the police. Mom's picking up outside the gym at 6. Then he turned and trotted towards the cafeteria. Alec marched straight ahead. The door of the gym was only about a minute away. And during that short walk, he realized something. When this idea had first come up back in August, he had been sure that 3 extra hours at school had to be the worst possible way to end each day. But if 6th grade was really going to change the way he had just been, that changed everything. Suddenly, those same 3 hours every afternoon felt like a gift from the friendly universe, his own personal chunk of time, with no one to bother him and nothing to do but read and read and read. There's no doubt in Alex's mind. The extended day program had just become the best part of his whole 6th grade year. We'll read chapter 4 next time. Bye.